And I know my dear sisters here at Scrabble, because y'all understand this already, don't you? Because you've been wrestling with this fundamental question of what the Greeks call paideia, P-A-I-D-E-I-A. It's not just schooling, it's deep education. Deep education. And it has to do with wrestling with the most terrifying question you will ever ask yourself. It's echoes of line 38A of Plato's Apology, where he says, the unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. But then I can hear in the background Sister Lorraine Hansberry and Sister Toni Morrison saying, the examined life is painful. You've got to have courage. You've got to be brave. Recognize it takes more courage to examine the dark corners of your own soul than it does for a soldier to fight on the battlefield. You have to be courageous to be a free thinker, to think critically against the grain. And we say to the young school, oh, what a rich tradition you have if you choose to build on it, but keep in mind what the Negro national anthem is, lift every voice, which means don't be an echo, be a voice. Don't be an echo, be a voice. Part of the challenge of your generation is we got too many copies out here, not enough originals. Got too many imitations and not enough creations. Folk just trying to fit in. How come? Because they've been told that success is becoming well-adjusted to the status quo, but don't be well-adjusted to injustice.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We think that what's happening around us is mystical. We think it's magic. And people sit back and they have all of these sort of debates and back and forth. Is it class? Is it culture? Is it this? But it's clear if you look at the history. It's not hard to understand. If I bracket you off and I repeatedly take from you over and over and over again, you might end up in some pretty desperate circumstances. It would be nice if we could talk about plunder ending after slavery, but in fact that's not what happened. It's not like slavery ended and, folks said, okay, you have your freedom now, you're free to, join America and we'll treat you like human beings. In fact, what followed was for the next 100 years, the most lethal domestic terrorism campaign that we've ever known. In so many of our families, there is, somebody with a story about how my uncle or my great-great-great-grandfather or somebody way back had to leave Mississippi because X, Y, and Z was gonna happen. Had to leave Tennessee, had to leave Alabama because X, Y, and Z, and almost always it, revolves around plunder. It revolves around the taking of things. This is true even in our most sort of basic rituals. When the right to vote was stripped of black people in the South, it was an act of plunder. Voting is not, merely a sort of symbolic act of citizenship. It's not some gauzy, pretty, thing you do. It's a decision you make. It's an ability to declare to the society, to your government, what it can and cannot do with your tax dollars. That's part of it. As a member of the society, as a part of the social contract, you have the right to have some sort of say in how your country is governed. Our task, and this really was a challenge, I put forth in the book, is to see the facts as they are, to see the world as it is, to see our country as it is, even as painful as it might be to look at it in that way. Thank you so much for having me.
This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it and to do it well. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. Finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Well, life for none of us has been a crystal stair, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
We must move from a place where everybody's talking, everybody got TV and radio and Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and all this stuff where they talking. We got to move into a position where we're willing to listen to the voices of other people. Listen to the voices of the vulnerable. Listening to our elders. Listening to our children. We got to be willing to listen, but if you're going to listen, that means that you got to be listening even when you're not, even when you're successful. You see, sometimes we get some fancy degrees. We all know them people. You get a fancy degree, you think you better than everybody else. Y'all clapping, but now y'all got the fancy degree. Y'all got the fancy degree from Harris Stowe. Y'all earned it, but don't think because you got a fancy degree that you somehow better than the grandmama who couldn't go to school. Don't think you wiser than the deaconess in your church. Don't think you know more than those babies that are speaking truth to power on South Florissant. Don't think you know more just because you got the degree. Knowledge ain't wisdom. Your professors didn't train you to just be smart. Anybody can be smart. Donald Trump is smart. Maybe. You were trained to be wise. And wisdom means you know when to listen to folk that know more than you. Wisdom is knowing to listen to folk that might believe differently than you, that might come in a different body than you might expect, that might not have a three-piece suit and a necktie. They may have tats up and down their body. Their pants might be hanging low, but guess what? They ready to fight, they ready to struggle, and they got something to offer the world. As y'all get older, you got to listen to them too, because you ain't always going to be the young people on the block. At some point, you're going to be the old head, and when you the old head, you still got to listen.
To avoid uncomfortable truths about the prejudice that still infects our society. To settle for symbolic gestures without following up with the hard work of more lasting change. That's how we lose our way again. It would be a refutation of the forgiveness expressed by those families if we merely slipped into old habits, whereby those who disagree with us are not merely wrong but bad, where we shout instead of listen, where we barricade ourselves behind preconceived notions or well-practiced cynicism. Reverend Pinckney once said, "Across the South, we have a deep appreciation of history. We haven't always had a deep appreciation of each other's history." What is true in the South is true for America. Clem understood that justice grows out of recognition of ourselves in each other. That my liberty depends on you being free too. If we can find that grace, anything is possible. If we can tap that grace, everything can change. Amazing grace. Amazing grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was through the example of their lives, they've now passed it on to us. May we find ourselves worthy of that precious and extraordinary gift as long as our lives endure. May grace now lead them home. May God continue to shed His grace on the United States of America.